What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome live to the Fringe. Um, Little different stream this morning. I'm just gonna wait for people to pile in. I wasn't planning on doing a live stream. There were no plans to do a live stream. But as I sit here waiting for the verdict of what's happening with Tamara Lich, Chris Barber, I figured let's just do it together. Let's sit together. We'll talk about what's going on. I'm gonna wait for people to get in here and then we're going to move straight over to the live updates coming in. Now, keep in mind, I can't actually broadcast from the courtroom. That's only for media. Now, while I was witnessing what was going on camera through the courtroom, um, sorry, I'm trying to bring up the live feed here that I can get for the updates. Um, as I was watching the feed through the courtroom, you can't actually legally broadcast what's going on in there. So I figure let's do a live stream. Let's keep people updated as to what's going on, and then we will. Um, yeah, we'll talk about what's happening outside of the courthouse. Sorry, folks. I know it's early. I know we normally don't live stream at these times, but it's important we talk about what's happening because I've got a very bad feeling that this is going to turn dark very quick. I hope you guys are doing well. Is my chat not showing up? Is nobody in the chat? Okay, hold on one second here, folks. I'm gonna bring in. Hey, there we go. There's Dodger. How you doing, Dodger? Welcome to the stream. Um, there we go. There's Ingrid. How you guys doing? Welcome into the stream. Let's bring in a screen cap of what's happening here because it'll be important to go over this. Ezra Levant has been covering what's happening in the courtroom, and like I said, I can't really show what's happening in the courtroom. It's literally for press only. There are stipulations about live streaming the events, so you're not allowed to talk about them. But let's go into what's going on because Chris Barber and Tamara Lich have reached the courthouse. They're in the courthouse currently. The judge is going through everything. So let me refresh this. We'll be refreshing this often because Ezra is pointing or making all of his points updated regularly. So let's take a look here at what's going on. I'll read you guys what's been happening this morning so that we can kind of paint a picture of where things are going. Hopefully, things are updated by then. But again, the judge is really drawing things out. Now, one of two things I think is going to happen here. Tamara has already served time in jail. They're starting to compare a lot of cases, a lot of things that have happened in the past where this will either maybe result in time served or house arrest. Chris Barber, on the other hand, has not really served any time in jail. He was out right away. I mean, you can see Tamara arriving at the courthouse here this morning. It's going to be crazy, but I think the judge is drawing out because I think this is going to go beyond um, time served or beyond house arrest. I think that what we're going to see here are political prisoners. Here comes Chris Barber again. I'm not going to go too much into it, but let's get into what. Um, yeah, I saw that. It's YouTube lately. If you guys haven't yet, hit the sub button. YouTube lately has been striking everything down. They're out for this channel. I wouldn't be surprised if they shut this channel down eventually. To be honest, um, Ezra Levant tweets out again. I'll give you guys a rundown of what's happened so far this morning. I'm inside the courthouse, but it is against the rules to take photos or videos here. But there's a very large line outside the courtroom. I don't think everyone will fit in. Only the lawyers and the accused have been allowed in so far. The court staff are being a bit chippy with everybody else. They're now in the courtroom. I think everybody who wants a seat has one. Tough to tell. Uh, let me get past the judge because Ezra was literally tweeting everything that was happening here about the clerks. I like this comment by Ezra. If only Tamara and the truckers had worn kiffas and called it for the death to the Jews, they would have been arrested or they wouldn't have been arrested or prosecuted. Now the judge waited until the court was supposed to be in session at 10 a.m. The judge waited until 10:30. So you can see here it's 10:31. The judge just blessed us with her presence. There are a couple of journalists joining us via Zoom link. Again, I was watching via Zoom. Judge wants to know who Bob is. I saw that. She's going to read out the sentencing ruling, but not the technical citations of cases. Sure enough, somebody's phone has gone off. Alex Zoltan from Juno News has joined via Zoom link. Clerk is warning people about racism and says they will be turned into the police. They came out of nowhere. The judge starts reading the sentencing ruling. It's 10:36. Perkins McVeigh, who is the judge, recounts the basic facts. This file spanned just over 2 years, unprecedented. She's proud of it. Sloppy. Perkins McVeigh, Doug Ford's prosecutors are still trying to seize Chris Barber's truck, so it's not done yet. This is important. Chris Barber actually sold his truck to his son so that his trucking company could continue while Chris Barber was restricted from working, restricted from doing anything related to his job. But even though the truck has been sold to his son, Doug Ford and his cronies are still trying to repossess the truck so that they can destroy it. They simply want to just make an example out of what Chris has done. Perkins McVeigh Crown seeks unprecedented custodial sentences: 7 years for Tamara, 8 years for Chris Barber. Now it goes on to say Perkins McVeigh Crown says Tamara and Chris are responsible for the harm of the Freedom Convoy itself, significant broader public impact, active sustained counseling or of unlawful conduct. Defense lawyers say conviction should yield an absolute discharge. Tamara's lawyers, the real problem here is that any of the convoy sins are being put on her as an individual, even though she didn't do them. The judge goes on to say Tamara's lawyers said others did whatever crimes there were. Tamara repeatedly tried to keep things peaceful and cooperative. Freedom Convoy had a positive effect in Canada, etc. The judge says politics has no place in this courtroom. Sorry, too late for that, sister. Perkins McVeigh, follow the letter of the law of the criminal code and follow the case law precedents. Here's the problem. Tamara and Chris have never committed a crime. They have no previous criminal records. So what's going to happen with the sentencing is going to be very, very telling, because if she says if we have to follow the letter of law to the criminal code, when you're convicted of mischief, we're talking like house arrest. We're talking very light sentencing, not months or years in jail. She says, I won't read all the findings of fact for the trial. They're in the written decision, and I won't read it today. Prosecutors said offenses were unprecedented in scale and impact. I don't see how that's possible. Sustained and organized disruption of public order with significant consequences for residents, businesses, etc. Prosecutors say Tamara counseled others to stay in Ottawa. Ezra, since when is staying in Ottawa illegal? Perkins McVeigh, Ottawa police allegedly spent $55 million fighting the truckers. That's 55 million of our dollars, by the way. Perkins McVeigh repeats something that was really weird from the sentencing hearing. The prosecutors deceptively put the victim impact statements prepared for the ambulance chasing lawsuit of Paul Champ, who was suing the truckers for cash. They were delivered to the court. Both Tamara and Chris Barber had never committed a crime before. They were pillars of the community, etc. Judge notes that Barber is a professional trucker, makes it extra gross that Doug Ford is trying to seize that truck, which is funny given his, support Canada jobs, buy Canadian, right? But unless you get in the government's way or park on their front lawn, let's just make a mockery out of you. We'll shut down Canadian businesses. We'll stop selling their products in our stores, and we'll take truckers' livelihoods. Perkins McVeigh notes that Chris Barber cooperated with police and sought advice from lawyers, constantly worked with Ottawa police and city officials. I'll get a little bit more further. Tamara's received hate mail and threats. They go on to say Tamara is a mother and grandmother. She lost her job because of this prosecution. She spent 49 days in prison already before trial, plus had strict bail conditions for over 3 years. So again, this should warrant better sentencing for Tamara. Again, I'm hopeful for Tamara. I don't know what's going to happen with Chris. Gary says it's a kangaroo court. Absolutely, it is. David Creighton said he would also be at the court hearing in person. I know the pleb is apparently down there. I don't know if he's in the court per se. But keep in mind, they don't allow any kind of video or streaming or audio inside the courtroom, folks. That's why, again, I was watching the Zoom link, and I figured, you know what, we need to do this with the community. We're not going to watch the link. We'll get the updates from Ezra. Says here, judge says only 3 of the 12 victim impact statements ever mentioned Tamara or Chris. Several aren't even signed. Again. So then why are we talking about jail? Ezra says, what an absolute shit show from Doug Ford's prosecutors. Imagine putting in an unsigned ramble that doesn't even mention the accused as a victim impact. It's sloppy. Perkins McVeigh refers to costly police enforcement. So Tamara Lich is the reason why Ottawa police spent $55 million. If only she hadn't made those Facebook posts, Ottawa police wouldn't have spent that money, and Trudeau wouldn't have invoked martial law. A fair point. Perkins McVeigh also quotes hotels in the neighborhood saying they lost money because of the truckers. Really? So it had nothing to do with the authoritarian lockdowns in Ottawa and Ontario generally? The shutdown of travel, the shutdown of businesses, the shutdown of offices? Again, this is where, as it was mentioned earlier, kangaroo court, right? Like, they're saying that it's the Freedom Convoy's fault that all of these hotels lost business. If anything, the hotels gained business because some of the truckers were staying in them. Keep in mind, this was in the middle of the pandemic when the government said you're not allowed to go outside, you're not allowed to get on a plane or a train unless you take the jab. That was the whole reason the truckers were there, was to protest that they should be able to do their jobs without it because they're not around people. Perkins McVeigh is reading some activists who wrote the entire city felt under siege. Really? The entire city did? All 1 million of them? Because Wellington Street had trucks parked on it? Only an Ottawa judge could be stupid enough to believe that. Perkins McVeigh note the difference between general harm of the truckers versus anything that Tamara and Chris did themselves. She also says, while Tamara did not engage in harassment or obstruction, their actions sustained the protest beyond the point of lawful assembly. Again, they're painting a picture here, folks. You got to watch the dialogue. Perkins McVeigh, victim and community impact statements and provide evidence of breadth of harm, even though 9 of the 12 of those were not even prepared for the trial. Sentencing must be guided by criminal code provisions to contribute to respect of the law, denunciation of unlawful conduct, deterrence, separation of offenders from society, rehab, restitution. So again, if the judge is actually meaning she's going to follow this, she has to give light sentencing, because again, Tamara and Chris have no criminal code or no criminal offenses. I'm turning my phone off there so that we don't bog down the internet connection here. Excuse me. They have no prior convictions, no prior arrests. If she's following the criminal code, this should be a slap on the wrist, especially given, and this is one of the most important things I want to bring up, folks. Yesterday in the House of Commons, the Liberals and the Bloc voted against bail reform. So repeat offenders are allowed outside. You're allowed to SA a small child and be out on bail. But if you dare park your truck on the government's lawn, this is what happens. So literally the day after they vote down bail reform, they're about to send 2 political prisoners to jail. Perkins McVeigh says the sentence must be proportionate to the gravity of the offense. Consider aggravating and mitigating circumstances. Consider all other sanctions other than imprisonment where possible. Consider offenders' personal circumstances, citing the Glod case. Perkins McVeigh now reviews other Freedom Convoy trucker cases, says there aren't many that are comparable, example, dealing with leaders as opposed to individuals. Now, they do get into the Coots stuff here, which again is what makes me lead to believe we're going to have a bigger problem on our hands. She refers to the case of Pat King, who was an organizer and leader and influencer. King told protesters to, quote, hold the line and keep honking their horns despite a court order not to do so. Perkins McVeigh Crown sought a total of 10 years for mischief and another conviction in the case. 10 years. Instead, the judge in Pat King's case gave 0 additional time in prison, saying time served was enough. This is an important point. Pat King was worse than Tamara Lich or Chris Barber. He wasn't working with the police or the city. He specifically told people to violate the court order against honking, etc. He was a, quote, leader, at least to some. And he got 0 days in jail. These are all important notes to take, folks. Because this is where I'm saying they're going to make an example. This is a vendetta from the government. This isn't just legal at work here. So if they get any jail time, and Pat didn't, and it's nothing against Pat King. I like Pat. But this is where you know this is a complete miscarriage of justice. Ezra goes on to say, I sat through hours of sentencing in Lethbridge for the Coots truckers and farmers. I heard all of the cases, all of the case law. It's a simple fact. In Canada, if you have no prior criminal record, and if you were not violent, you simply won't get jail time for political mischief. Most of the case law, by the way, is left-wing protests, Greenpeace, anti-forestry, anti-oil, etc. Not one activist who broke the law and was convicted was given a jail term. And yet here, Doug Ford's prosecutors want 7 and 8 years in prison for Tamara and Chris. Perkins McVeigh mentions the Coots cases and mentions another case called Billings. No jail on either of those were served. Again, I know some of the Coots went to jail, but we're talking about the case specifically. Perkins McVeigh now delving into the details of the Pat King case. The court found that King had done some premeditation against the city that isn't present in the cases today. So again, trying to bring up, hey, look, we didn't give jail to this guy. Notes that Tamara Chris disassociated themselves from Pat King and did not engage in similar conduct as King did. McVeigh now talks about other cases. Another trucker who pled guilty was given sentence for time served. Another case of the convictional discharge, not jail time. She now refers to various Coots border blockade cases. She says that Jansen and Van Hulgenbos, 2 Coots defendants, assisted police and were still convicted and sentenced. Jansen had no jail time. Van Hulgenbos had some. The judge just made a weird exclamation, tweaking Lawrence Grenspawn over this. They now refer to Art Pulowski, who was convicted of giving a sermon to protesters at the Coots border crossing. Perkins McVeigh also cites the Alberta Court of Appeals, distinguishing between peaceful protest and blocking highways. So then they get into the Coots 4. Again, I don't want to hold up too much because they may have already handed down the sentencing. What I'm trying to do here, folks, is paint the picture as to where this goes from here. Perkins McVeigh, diesel fumes had a deleterious effect on residents. Judge calls for a morning break. It's 11:46 a.m. He puts p.m. by accident, I guess. I assure you, we will still aim to finish by 1 p.m. at the absolute latest. The judge breaks till 12 noon. So again, updates will be coming in, folks. It is now 12:03 their time. So the court will be sitting down any moment. Let me just double check the replies and make sure Ezra hasn't replied in here. Nope. Let me refresh the page and we'll scroll down just to make sure, again, there's no updates. And then we'll get to the chat and see what you guys have to say about what's going on here. Like, it's absolutely crazy, is it not? That this is the time we live in. This is our justice system. Sorry, Ezra's got every little detail, and rightfully so. I mean, he should be documenting all of this. The only update so far from 16 seconds ago, like you, I'm absolutely shocked that 12 noon has come and gone and the judge is nowhere to be found. Sloppy again. There's one reply. Okay. Okay, just making sure it wasn't Ezra's reply. Suna Soul Silver saying not crazy but disappointing. I agree. The judges are all ultra liberals. Yep. Andrew's saying it all depends on the judge. It does depend on the judge, but what you have to remember here is that this is a judge in Ottawa. Many of the government officials, I understand they can't intervene, but some politicians are probably responsible for her career. This is a witch hunt. It's a vendetta from the government. They have a vendetta against Tamara and Chris. So your guess is as good as mine. After the Coots boys were treated the way they were, anything right now won't shock me. If they actually gave Tamara and Chris their 7 or 8 years, it wouldn't shock me. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to be that extreme. I think if anything, we'll see months in jail, not years. But here it is. Here it is. Any jail time will be a huge influence on Alberta independence. It won't just be that. These are, if they go to jail, they're political prisoners at this point. Because the judge has already pointed out that Pat King, who was supposedly labeled for doing worse, I didn't really see anything bad that Pat King did during the Freedom Convoy, if you ever watched his live streams. In fact, when I remember the live stream when the RCMP showed up at Coventry to take away their gasoline and things like that. Pat was on live stream saying, just let them do their jobs. Don't harass them. Don't bother them. He was trying to keep the peace. So if Pat King gets no jail time served, and Tamara and Chris go away even for a week, it shows a very clear bias within our judicial system. It also shows corruption, which I know you can't really call it out because our government's been doing it for ages, and look, nothing happens to them, right? This is the joys of working within the government, folks. It's the arrogance of this country. It's unbelievable. If they do years in jail, there will be an uprising. I don't think it'll be years. Again, the only one I worry about is Chris Barber, because Chris has technically not been to jail yet. Tamara spent, I believe it was 39 days in jail. Okay, so here we go with Ezra's updates. The judge is back. People are finding seats. It's 12:05. The judge is continuing reading her sentence ruling. Perkins McVeigh says mitigating and aggravating factors are important in the sentence. Tamara and Chris, their roles were symbolic. Again, this is where we're stapling off of Pat King. Tamara Lich was primarily involved in fundraising. Forgive me, I'm just going to keep in mind, it's not like an update. I'm just going to refresh. And I hate that we have to keep scrolling down because Twitter just will not update any other way, folks. But we have to go all the way down to the bottom. This is kind of the shitty part about doing this rather than watching the live feed, is that you're constantly like, where's the updates? Where are they? Okay, so Tamara Lich was primarily involved in fundraising. Tamara Lich said, stay strong, hold the line, don't give in to fear. Judge takes a dark view of what all that meant. So here again, so they're going to twist the words of what's being said in order to paint their narrative. I've seen this so many times. Stay strong, hold the line, don't give in to fear. How do you get a dark view of that? It was a protest. Perkins McVeigh, leadership was an aggravating factor in a protest that commits mischief. Most protests block traffic. What about pro-Palestine protesters? We all know it's a display of power. So Ezra mentioned that at the beginning of his chain. You know, if only they'd worn a kifa. And like, this is unbelievable. And again, keep in mind, folks, this is the day after the Liberals voted down with the bloc on the bail reform to keep criminals in jail. They want to lock up protesters instead. If you dare show up on the government's front lawn, well, you can go to jail. But if you want to go through the streets and burn Canadian flags and cause all kinds of havoc, well, that's okay. No problem. The cops will even bring you Tim Hortons coffee. I mean, there's cockroaches in it, but they'll still bring you the coffee. And they'll still shake your hands and say, "Oh, you're doing such a great thing for your country and all your forever wars that you're bringing over here, that you're making our problem." Perkins McVeigh says this protest went on for a long time. No shit. The government refused to come outside and talk to them. That's all they wanted. And keep that in mind as well, folks. All it would have taken, all this would have taken was for Justin Trudeau or someone from the Liberals. They could have sent Twitchy Witchy out there. They could have sent Omar Algebra, somebody to come out and hear what they had to say, and it all would have been over. You guys remember at the inquiry, Justin Trudeau? I did not call people who didn't get vaccinated names. Yeah, you did for like a year. This country does need an enema. YouTubers are next with the bills they want passed. Look, it's an authoritarian state. Like this isn't a democracy. If anybody thinks this is a democracy, this whole trial goes against the Canadian Charter of Rights. You have the right to protest. You have the right to peaceful protest in this country. You have mobility rights. You have the right to decide what you put in your body, what you say, where you go. You can't be judged based on that. And yet here we are in one of the longest mischief trials in our history, saying that people should go to jail and we should dismantle their truck because they dared to speak up against the government. Keep in mind, the government works for us, not the other way around. They used to be called public servants. Now they're like, well, we don't like that term. Tough. That's what you are. If I give you my vote and I pay my tax dollars to go and work for me in the House of Commons, that makes you my bitch. You're my personal bitch. And you're going to go make sure that the policy you passed is within my best interest. And if you don't, you're out of a job. That's how it works. The problem is now we have this corrupt liberal government who says, "Oh no, we just want to line our pockets and make ourselves rich and make you cower on your knees while we keep stealing from you and telling you how to live, what to put in your body. We're going to go against all your rights and you're going to shut up and like it." That's what I can't understand, is how we got there. How so many Canadians that huff their own farts sit back and go, "Oh, I'm okay with that. Govern me harder, daddy." CB fixes all. Shout out to CB. He does so much work for this channel. Very good friend. The feds appoint the judges so their mandate is coming directly from the Liberal government to make an example of these two people. That's my fear, CB. That's my fear. Maple Kitty, another great viewer of the channel. Thank you for your patronage. This is another reason why I don't really care about Canada anymore. Alberta's strong and free. But this is the divisiveness. Like I've even said it. I don't want, like, I love Canada. I love my country. But if I want to be free, if I want to be away from this nonsense, the only path forward is independence. Government won't take their claws out of my back. My children will never get ahead. My kids will never have a future. What other choice do you have? Mark Carney's going to get bitch slapped by Donald Trump today. How do you think that's going to go? "Hey, Mark, I'm not talking about tariffs. I'm not talking about any of this stuff. I'm not even going to spit. I'm just going to bend you over and send you packing." That's what's going to happen. You're fired. Sorry, I'm just refreshing to get back to the updates, folks. I know I went on a rant. There's a reason I'm ranting, because Ezra updates every little thing here. He hasn't even updated since my little rant. He has. It started another chain. Perkins McVeigh, the mayor, said our residents are exhausted and on edge. Refers to the press conference where a reporter said people in this town are terrified. Ezra, what a whiny town Ottawa is. Keep in mind, it's mostly government workers. Of course they're upset. They don't like being challenged. Perkins McVeigh, in a news article, Chris Barber said, quote, "We understand your frustration, but the responsibility for your inconvenience lies on the shoulders of politicians." What's wrong with that? Perkins McVeigh refers to some text where Chris Barber says things like, "We train wrecked this town." I think he was talking about the turnout. Perkins McVeigh, mischief caused significant harm, including emotional distress, emotional damage. Ezra, did it really? Did having people who disagree with you come to the city, capital city, for a week? Did that directly disturb you? Are you a child or perhaps a baby kitten? Here's the thing again. How many weekends have the Palestinian protesters gone through and blocked up Wellington and blocked up roads and nothing happens to them? How many times have the Alphabet Mafia gone running through there? And again, no consequences. I don't see anybody on trial for that. I don't see them ripping away their flags and taking their houses and locking them up and saying you can't go anywhere. Perkins McVeigh, neither Tamara nor Chris have a criminal record. They have strong support from friends and family and like-minded supporters, respectful of the court and the court staff throughout the trial. Both accused consistently emphasized peacefulness, no evidence that either called for violence to people or property, and in fact asked for anyone like that to be reported to the police. Tamara and Chris were viewed as moderate face of the convoy in the city by police. Perkins McVeigh. They reached a good faith agreement to reduce the footprint of the protest. The plan only stopped when the police chief interfered. Again, like, we can't get ahead here, folks. Jay English, wow, thank you for a $5 super chat. We need to push back against the government and all of their authoritarian orders. Nothing they do makes common sense and gaslight uh, the F out of us. Thank you so much for the super chat. I couldn't agree more. Nilok, corrupt governments entrench themselves and punish dissent. Absolutely, they do. You guys are amazing. Nilok, another $5 super chat. Guys, thank you. Hit the like button, folks. It helps push the stream out and gets people informed. Albertans, make sure you show up the 25th. Hashtag I am Alberta. We talked about that on yesterday's video, folks. Hashtag I am Alberta. Go online, put out a video clip of yourself saying you're going to be at the protest, which nobody will end up in jail, by the way, because Alberta still believes in that. We're going to be out there talking about independence in this country. We need a turnout. We need a very good turnout, or else it's going to look as though there's no call for independence in this province. It's on a Saturday, again, the 25th, 4 to 6 p.m. at the legislature. Night of Fleeman, I would go on the 25th, but being a Canadian leaves a person broke. I hear you. I hear you. I have to say, and I don't want to insult people like Night of Philema or those who legitimately can't be there. I have to say how disappointing it was yesterday to go through the comment section of that video. And while there has been an outpouring of support of people who say they are going, there's a very large percentage of people, "Oh, I got to relace my shoes that weekend. Oh, I'll be there in spirit, but I wish you the best." There's so many people that have the ability to go, they just don't wanna. And here's the thing, folks. I'm not going to judge each and every person. I know some people have um, the some people have legitimate reasons they can't be there, and I'm not coming down on those people. I'm talking about the couch surfers, the people who could be there, but they just don't want it. They don't see the point. Independence is not going to come to your front doorstep and just settle down and come in a nice big bow for you to say, "Oh, good, now I'm an independent Albertan." If you want change, you have to be that change. You got to, what is it Michael Jackson said? Take a look at yourself and make the change, folks. Get out and support this stuff. Make your voice heard. So important. They haven't got to the sentence yet. We're updating. We're going through it. Unofficial start time and show up time is 2 p.m. Thank you for that, Nilok. I appreciate that. Yeah, Phoebe. And again, that's why I'm saying people who legitimately can't be there, I get it. But there was so many comments of people that are like, I don't get the point. I don't, and it's like, stop. Let's refresh. Let's see if we've got They reached out in good faith agreement to reduce. The plan only stopped when the police chief interfered. Perkins, McVeigh, Chris Barber moved his own truck and tried to encourage others to follow. Both complied when they were arrested. 49 days in jail for Tamara Lich is like 74 days given a formula. It was during COVID time, so it was rough. Rehearsing family and business facts about Chris Barber. Tamara Lich had her bank account frozen illegally. Lots of letters of recommendation by supporters. No violence, obstruction, or overly defiant, not characterized by malice or disregard for human safety. Tamara Lich has had a tough go, loss of employment, hate mail, threats, etc. So that's where we are on the updates, folks. As soon as Ezra posts more. So here's the interesting question. And again, I'll talk about this because we're waiting for updates. Will the Kazak's petition destroy or delay a referendum vote? So Danielle Smith sat not just with Ezra Levant, but many others yesterday, confirming that she believes Tom Lakazik's question is a constitutional question. I don't know how that fits as a constitutional question. But here's the thing, folks. If that is the case, and she says that he's close to getting his signatures, please keep in mind not to feed in to the sideshow, the rhetoric, anything else until it is verified after the signature dates. Because keep in mind, they get the list they have to go through. They have to ensure that every signature is verified as an Albertan who's been here for 3 years, that is in the voting system. They have to verify each and every signature. If Tom reaches that threshold, if Danielle is saying it's a constitutional question, guess what? We have our referendum. All you have to do is vote no. Alberta should not stay in Canada. So either way, with or without APP's question, if Danielle is saying it's constitutional, which again I think is hogwash, no, it doesn't hold up the referendum vote. If it's considered constitutional, all we have to do. Yeah, see, he's not getting the support is what I heard as well. But then Danielle said he's very close yesterday. So I'm not sure what the hell's going on. Again, I'll wait until his due date and see what the verified petition says at the end of it. But regardless, if it's considered constitutional, everybody just needs to go out in droves and vote no, we should not remain in Canada. Just Karma, $27.99 super chat. No message. Thank you so much. Wow. Thank you so much. Leave a message next time. I want to give you a shout out next time. I appreciate that. I'm actually on my week off, ordered my hoodie and plan on showing up with frickin' bells on. Ken, I like your style. I appreciate that. I hope to see you there. Hans, Canada turned into a shithole. It has. Danielle said we can see a spring 2026 vote. Yes, she did. So again, it's going to be interesting. She could have been given a bad rumor about Lakazik's petition. Absolutely, she get. So that's why I'm saying, like, I'm not buying into the rhetoric until those signatures are verified, until we know where everything stands, until they say ironclad, it's done. I've always been told in life, folks, always get it in writing. Never believe anything unless you get it in writing. Here we go. Perkins McVeigh, Lich's role was primarily fundraising. Lich made a genuine effort to mitigate the impact of the protests. Those efforts are somewhat unprecedented. Chris Barber had his bank accounts frozen, etc. Barber is a non-violent. He played more logistical operation role, including coordinating truck placement, met with the city officials, and made efforts to reduce protest footprint on residents. This was motivated by civic engagement. Barber's messaging emphasized peaceful protest and encouraged followers to cooperate with police. Again, that was 4 seconds ago. So I'll stick with the chat. Excuse me, and we'll update regularly. Ottawa is beyond recovery. It's a beautiful city too. Like, I went to Ottawa. I was invited to the House of Commons back in 2023. Beautiful city. I absolutely loved my time there, and it's such a shame that politics has just made it so gross. If you just had responsible politicians there, God, I would encourage everybody, go look at it. Go visit there. Take a look around on Parliament Hill, all the history that's there. Uh, I can tell you right now, like the wife had to get the kids in school. I'd never been anywhere alone on vacation. I shouldn't even say vacation. It was business. But there wasn't a single second I found myself bored walking around by myself in Ottawa. I thought it was absolutely amazing. I mean, I spent time with Freedom Convoy folks there, Tamara, um, Keith Wilson, Eva Chipiuk, etc. But any of the time I was sightseeing or doing my own thing, never a second boredom. Beautiful city. Marcus, $5 super chat. Does anyone know what the political structure of a free and independent Alberta will look like? So Keith Wilson has pointed that out. Um, Essentially, there would just be elections. We would just have to hold elections for our leaders. Fringe will throw his name in that. I'm joking. I will not. I will not. Please don't take that literal. Um, we would have to appoint our own officials at that point. Any UCP, any of that stuff, they'd be out. They'd have to rerun. We'd have to form a constitution, I would assume. Cindrio with $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Have you tried keeping updated via Ezra's replies in his profile rather than the thread? Or is it harder to keep track of? It's the way Ezra's doing it. It's harder to keep track of. So we're just refreshing. This is the easiest way I have found. Jeff says he's not concerned with that question from Lukasik. Either way, Alberta still wins. And that's the thing. Regardless of what happens, if Lukasik's petition was considered by the Alberta government to be a constitutional question, even though technically it isn't, who cares? Like, I see that as a win, folks. Just go and vote no. That's as simple as it gets. They did the work for APP, I guess. What do we got here? Like I said, Pierre's support of the protest was not forgotten during the election. It was talked about a lot as the election came near. Jeff Rath also said he is close to getting all the signatures he needs for a referendum, and Danielle said she would put it in a vote in the spring of 2026. So on his question, vote no. There you go. CB coming out with it. They will be political prisoners in a socialist country. Again, the day after the Liberals voted down bail reform. That's the kicker. All right, let's do the refresh here. Barber's messaging was emphasized peaceful protest and encouraged followers to cooperate with police. He did not pose a danger to the community. I must reject the suggested sentences of both the Crown and the defense. Serious form of mischief. Accused actions had a significant detrimental effect on the city of Ottawa. Horns honking day and night, roads impassable, emitting diesel fumes, impossible to exit their own building. Many of those findings are simply false. Defense calls for absolute discharges. That would be unfit. Judge McVeigh says a discharge would send the wrong message and would undermine confidence in the administration of justice. Perkins McVeigh, 7 and 8 year sentence proposed by Doug Ford's prosecutor would also be unfair. Robbery, aggravated assault rarely receive sentences in that range. So at least the judge is thinking logically. So again, it doesn't sound like we're going to get no time, but this is positive. If she's saying, look, at the very least, folks, we're not getting 7 and 8 year jail sentences, right? That's a positive. This friggin' government is evil. Tell me about it. I'm assuming you're talking about Ottawa. I'm watching the Trump Carney meeting now, and there's only so much we can cover. I don't want to scale over to that either because then we'll miss the updates here. "23 seconds ago, Perkins McVeigh said Doug Ford's prosecutors' attempt to compare Hydro-Quebec sabotage is absurd. They came with the noblest of intent and did not advocate for violence 6 seconds ago. So again, we'll update these folks. No jail, period. I'm not tolerating with all the rampant crime and victims. Again, what you're going to find here is that, yeah, somebody's saying time served. You got to keep in mind, though, Barber hasn't gone to jail technically. So Tamara may get time served. I would be okay with house arrest. Honestly, if house arrest was all that happens, fine. Do that. Leave Chris's truck alone. At least they can be with their families. But if you send any of these folks to jail the day after you vote out bail reform and allow rampant crime in the streets, you know right now the conservatives are frothing at the mouth for them to go to jail because it's nothing but a political move at that point for them. It's a political move. I think the dog just unplugged my stream. I'm still live. Hang on, I'll have to get my monitor on here.
Was he over there?
Yep.
Come here.
This is the joy of doing live things, folks. Can you do me a favor? Can you plug in my monitor? It's unplugged. While we're waiting, Joey gifting 5 unacceptable fringe memberships to the Patriots Club. Thank you so much, Joey. I really appreciate that. All right. There you are. We're doing it live. Well, for anybody, Mrs. Fringe, we're doing it live. So our friend moved in with us to try and get her head above water, and her dog is like a horse. This thing is huge. He's got to move around. I can't be mad at the dog moving around. It just happens to be where my studio is. Okay, so here we go. Here's updates 19 seconds ago. Tamara and Chris could not control everyone at the protest. Perkins McVeigh quotes the King case where punitive sentences in a political case, quote, can have the effect of creating a chill or a fear of participation in a political expression, such as demonstrations and protests. Judge says Freedom Convoy was not an attack. It began as a lawful, constitutionally protected form of protest. It morphed into mischief. Squeeze me? Baking powder? The judge says the Pat King decision and the Coots decisions are the most relevant and similar. Okay, so if they're similar, we should see similar sentences, meaning time served or house arrest. This is live? It is live. The dog wants to eat the internet. It wouldn't shock me. The dog eats everything. He does want attention. I'm telling you, you can put a saddle on this dog and ride him around. This thing's huge. Don't forget the long ballot is underway too. It's starting to look like, dare I say, mischief. Well, corrupt Liberal government, they are the ones that need to be locked up, not Canadian citizens protesting corruption and removing freedom. I've mentioned meeting with Trump is live now several times. Derek isn't noticing. I am noticing, David, but I can't leave the live updates of what's happening to Tamara and Chris in a Tamara and Chris stream to broadcast what's happening with Trump. I'll have a video out about the Trump meeting later today. I know we cover both Canadian and American on this channel. You got to understand how important this is. For our American viewers, this is the definition of a democracy versus a dictatorship. So what happens here is very important. No, the dog isn't liberal.
Not a chance in hell. I'd fire him.
What is this? No, we love Trump. I love the Donald. He's wonderful. He's an amazing guy. Wonderful president, I gotta say. I've known a lot of presidents in the United States, okay? But none quite like Donald Trump. I think he's fabulous. He's wonderful. All hail President Trump. He is going to eat Carney. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Let's go. Let's get on with the updates. Let's see where we're at. Judge, Pat King decision and the Coots decisions are the most relevant and similar. Judge, King served his time in the community, no jail time. King never worked with the police to help reduce the footprint, unlike Tamara and Chris. In the case of the Coots 3, 2 of the men received no custodial sentence. The other one who did, Marco Van Huigenbos, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, was the one who indicated no remorse. Judge, is a conditional sentence appropriate? That typically means they don't actually go to prison. They serve the sentence in the community. This is looking good, folks. This is looking better than I thought it would. Okay, we'll keep updating that one. Jail for 10 years? Ian, are you calling for jail for 10 years? I love Trump. He's wonderful. I love that comment. I think it's great. So everybody keeps saying the dog is liberal. He's not liberal. The dog is not liberal. He's a very nice dog. I actually quite like it. Chocolate Lab. Massive. Massive dog. I'm still waiting for Ian to tell me if he was calling for them to go to jail for 10 years. I think it's just a troll who snuck in and then said what they had to. Get him out of here. Go to jail. I don't like those nasty people and their honking horns. They still haven't updated. Okay, we're waiting. We're waiting, folks. I don't have a lot of hope for Barber and Leach or for Northern Perspective being ordered before a parliamentary committee tomorrow. Fishy things are going on. Northern Perspective was ordered before a parliamentary committee? I'd never heard anything about that. I talked with Ryan and Tanya quite a bit. I hadn't heard about that. I've also been out of the loop because there's been a lot of things going on around here, so it could have flown right over my head. The biggest crime was the Prime Minister didn't do his job. All he had to do was listen to the people of Canada. That is a crime, but of course the people of Canada pay the price. They're about to. It was said that Carney was cinching up his knee pads, getting ready for the Donald's backdoor deal. Listen, Carney, come on in, get your knee pads on. I'm going to give you a lollipop and you're going to like it. Oh. Watching them trigger the woke people is very entertaining. I love watching the woke people get triggered. It's so easy, too. See, even Pebbles says, I love when you do Donald Trump. I get the giggles. She gets giggles. They get giggles. It might be a guy. I don't know. No matter who they are, they get the giggles, ladies and gentlemen. They love it. They love when Donald comes in. What's happening to Tamara and Chris is a great travesty. It's a miscarriage of justice. Had they lived in America, they'd be heralded as heroes. They'd be making America great again. Let's get on with it. Where are the updates? So they said is a conditional sentence appropriate? This typically means they don't actually go to prison. Judge reviews the principles of condition sentences in the R versus Prolux case. Again, that was 1 minute ago. I'll keep updating. Northern Perspective were invited to present their evidence in front of the committee. Ryan will be there on October 9th. Okay, great. Perfect. I'll chat with him before that. I must have missed it. But that's good. My American lady friend loves your Trump. Everybody loves the Trump. They think it's wonderful. I got to be real with you guys. I've done a lot of things, but none quite like being the president of the United States of America. People love the Donald. It's okay. But if you want to get into this fringe community, we're going to build a wall around it. with a big, beautiful door, and you're going to have to come through it legally. Came with a $5 super chat. Ryan, Northern Perspective called to committee for the longest ballot evidence they uncovered. Good, great. I hope they shut it down. I got to be honest. You sound almost exactly like Donald Trump. Amazing. I'll be honest. I always thought it was a terrible impression. People love it though, so we do it. Oh, a lot of people get mad when I do the Trump. They're like, "Stop! Leave it out of the videos. Don't do it. Stop! I don't like it. I can't stand you. I can't watch it." I said, if one person tells me they're laughing, they're having a good time. That's why we do it. There's other channels out there that just talk about news. They talk about what's going on. We got to be a little different. We got to stand out a little different. Have some fun. Have some jokes. Smile a little. Forget how shitty the world is sometimes. If you can't do that, folks, you're never going to get anywhere in life. Okay, so 1 minute ago, Tamara nor Chris was nonviolent and made document efforts to help police. While a custodial sentence is required for each accused, both accused have been specifically deterred by their arrest and incarceration and court process, says Ezra. Okay, so we'll keep updating and hopefully conditional sentence with punitive conditions, including house arrest, curfews, prohibitions, etc., community service. Okay, so we're getting there. We're almost there. Did you ever get the cowbell vid fixed? We won't be able to use the longer one that I had. I got anti-TDS syndrome. Wonderful. I love hearing that. It's wonderful. I gotta say, Mark Carney, he's gonna get slapped like a redheaded stepchild today. It's gonna be wonderful. Guys, do you know what Trump loves more than anything? He loves more cowbell.
Guess what? I got a fever. And the only prescription is more cowbell.
My only prescription would be for this judge to get to the verdict already. Can we get that? Can we have that happen? She loves the sound of her own voice, folks. She's a liberal. She loves it. Kim with a $5 super chat. My son walking by heard your Donald coffee now everywhere from laughing. He said that's pretty good. I appreciate that. Not that he spit coffee everywhere. Don't spit your coffee. Stop spitting your coffee. Stop it. Don't do that. Go get a lollipop. Don't have a coffee. Have a lollipop. Feel better. Let's Ezra, where are we at here? Like there's all these comments. There's no update from Ezra. Come on, Ezra. Do better. Damn it, Ezra. Yeah, no updates. We'll keep it coming. Yes, we're well aware Trump and Carney went live. We're not doing a live stream of that. We're doing Tamara and Chris. If Tamara and Chris get no jail, I'll be doing the Trump dance. Everybody's going to be doing the Trump dance. Greg, a man, I miss Christopher Walken. Can you imitate him at all? Sometimes I can. Miss Fringe, she doesn't like it very much. She says it's irritating. She doesn't like it. Sometimes I gotta sleep on the couch. It's not very soft. In fact, a little hard. Not gonna lie. How? That's all the walking you get. No more walking. Guys, you're crazy. Still no update from Ezra. It's been 3 minutes. Oh, breaking. Justice Heather Perkins McVeigh sentences trucker organizer Chris Barber 18 months conditional sentence, concurrent 3-month sentence for counseling disobedience of the court order to be served in the community, keep the peace, etc. So Chris Barber is not going to jail. This is good news. You heard it here, folks, first. I got lots of couches. I got a new couch. But how, Miss Fringe? She doesn't let me sleep on the nice couch. Says that couch is for guests only, not the Fringe to lay on. No jail for Chris Barber. Okay, so now comes the juicy stuff. Now, what happens to Tamara? 18 months conditional sentence, concurrent 3-month sentence for counseling disobedience of court order. Thank the Lord. No jail time for Chris. No prison wallets. If we had to start breaking out prison wallets or talking about prison wallets, scary times. Come on, Ezra. Let's get to the next one. Let's go. Barber must, here we go. Barber must remain on his own property during the first 12 months, except for employment or traveling to and from any legal, medical, or dental appointments or religious services. Once a week for up to 5 hours to go shopping for necessities of life, or by written permission of his, quote, supervisor. For the remaining period of time, he has a curfew between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. Sounds totally reasonable to me. Totally reasonable. Really happy about Chris, says Freddie. Yeah, he shouldn't be getting anything, but this is a win. No time behind bars. Do you know how many lefties are pulling their hair out right now and screaming because they'd already posted pictures of Tamara and Chris in orange jumpsuits? I'm going to have such a good Thanksgiving, huffing my farts and looking at the fact that Tamara and Chris are behind bars. Not happening. Persona non grata. They don't go to jail. You don't pass go. You do not collect $200. You lose. Good day, sir. The lefties, Rachel Gilmore is going to be having a meltdown. Can you believe these truckers did this to Zexy Lee and they didn't go to jail? Subscribe for more content, ladies and gentlemen. I've got a bullseye on my back because I said something bad about the truckers. Now everybody told me to go get a douchebag. Frickin' Rachel Gilmore. They should put her in jail. Chris must do 100 hours of community service. Slap on the wrist. What an insane list of conditions for a whole year. There are terrorists out on bail with fewer conditions. What a gross, sloppy, whiny judge carrying out errands of political establishment. So gross. I agree, Ezra. I'm so tensed waiting for the Tamara verdict. Here's the thing. If that's what's going to happen, well, so Big Red is set by the province. This isn't part of this. So we won't know about Big Red for a while. That's going to be a different judge, too. Completely unreasonable. He should be spending his time compiling the names of all associates of the Crown prosecutors and government employees involved with this. Let the hunt begin. Illegitimate. Hey, lefties, you fired. Y'all fired. Rachel Gilmore, you fired. Clean up your desk. Get him out of here. Okay, so we got that. The judge says he'll allow Barber to visit his parents down the road for snow removal and other maintenance. Good. I know he looks after his folks out in Saskatchewan. That's good. This is nothing more than a witch hunt and a waste of tax dollars. I agree. Does he keep his truck? We don't know. We won't know about that today. That's the province. That's Doug Ford and his guys trying to take his truck. I'm assuming we won't know about that today because I believe that's a separate case. Again, we're getting the updates as they come in, folks. We're doing it live. Hang out with me here. Judge says Barber's employment requires him to travel outside of Saskatchewan, so that's an exception. That's allowed. So Chris is allowed to continue working as a truck driver. Isn't that amazing? He's allowed to keep his livelihood. Not today. I'll do it in Trump. Not today, you woke lefty, so suck it. Oh. Taro, the $5 super chat. Was the bail reform bill put in the day before the Convoy hearing as a strategic plan from the Conservatives? I'm not sure. Look, the Conservatives would have been happy to see jail here because it would have given them a platform to use Tamara and Chris as martyrs, essentially, to say, look, you're letting these guys run rampant, but you put these two people in jail. I'm happy with this turnout. This is better than the alternative, folks. While I don't think any jail or any stuff should have happened, this is still better than where it could have gone. I will tell you, I've spoken with Tamara. I've spoken with Chris. In fact, I've been in the room while Tamara's been talking to Chris, and you could just hear him saying, this has to be over. I got to be done with this. I can't take it anymore. He was going insane. They were prepared for jail. If you saw the video they put out yesterday, they were prepared for jail. So I'm sure they're breathing a sigh of relief in those courtrooms. Who got the more lenient treatment? Chris Barber, the trucker, or Omar Khadr, the terrorist murderer from Al-Qaeda? The judge is cracking little jokes throughout, and some people in the gallery laugh each time. The judge is loving every minute of this. She'll miss this when it's gone. She's a star, says Ezra. That's part of the problem here. Greenspawn asks for a 5-minute break to consult Tamara Lich. The judge makes more jokes. She's such a card. I'm glad they can all have a good laugh. I agree. It could have been better, but it could have been worse. Yeah, that's where I'm sitting with this. Meanwhile, Palestine protesters are setting off smoke grenades in downtown Ottawa. No penalty, 2-tier justice system. Yes. Howard Stern's wife is going to dump him? Okay, that's pretty random. Did that just happen? Or are you just saying because of all this? Yeah, making jokes about putting people's lives in hell and on hold for 3 years. Exactly. Yeah, the judge knows no bounds of decency here. Oh, that's all. Isn't this funny, folks? If you had the fringe there, I'd be hammering the gavel saying, get him out of here. Tell Justin Trudeau to go have a lollipop and feel better about himself. No jail, no community service. Court's on a short break. When court resumes, Tamara Lich's sentence will be announced, says Ezra, as of right now. So again, we'll hang out in the chat. Is that Howard's wife is done with him? Is that Beth O or whatever her name is? Not today. Well, and that's a good point, right? Like, you shouldn't be cracking jokes in a courtroom. If you want jokes in a courtroom, just bring the fringe there and make me a judge. I'll crack jokes all day long. Not the judge. At least be funny. No, I don't see them sentencing Tamara at this point either. If Chris Barber's getting away with community service, they can't throw Tamara in jail. She's already been to jail. Barber had not been in a prison cell. So this sets up the president. I'm telling you right now, the liberals are pissed. Justice Trump presiding. Sit down. Get your gavels, get your lollipops. We're going to talk a little bit here. We're going to make Canada great again. We're going to allow Tamara and Chris to leave. There's going to be no punishments, no juries. And in fact, I am going to put through a decree that Chris Barber must chain Mark Carney's desk to the back of Big Red and drag it down Wellington Street. Get it out of here. Dismantle that man's office. Yeah, you don't want me as a judge. Judge Fringe, I'd watch that show. Somebody said that I'm a man and can't have periods. Get him out of here. That'd be a great show, wouldn't it? I wonder if Donald Trump does Fringe impersonations, probably at McDonald's. Goading is the word trying to contempt, trying for a contempt charge. Yep. Mr. Blockton. Oh my God, that's awesome. $5 super chat. So if Chris got no jail time, logically Tamara shouldn't get any by the standards. Also, we need more Trump impressions. Derek, cheers, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you. See, and this is where I wish I could just bring these up every time somebody's in the chat. Stop with the Donald Trump. I have to go to therapy now. I can't stand Donald. He's so terrible. Listen, I'm your doctor now. Go get a lollipop. Go feel better. I don't think they like me very much. What happening? Just joined. Okay, so if you just joined, if you just came in, Chris Barber, let's go over it just to make sure everybody's got the full list of what's happening with Chris Barber. Sentence trucker organizer Chris Barber, 18 months conditional sentence, concurrent 3-month sentence for counseling disobedience on a court order to be served in the community, keep the peace, etc. Barber must remain on his own property during the first 12 months, except for employment or traveling to and from any legal, medical, or dental appointments or religious services. So he's allowed to work as a trucker, but otherwise stay on his property. Once a week for up to 5 hours, he can go shopping for necessities of life. Or by written permission from his supervisor, custodian, whatever you want to call it. He also has 100 hours of community service. He's allowed to go down and visit his parents down the road for snow removal or other maintenance. Judge says Barber's employment requires him to travel outside of Saskatchewan. That's an exception that's allowed. So again, he's getting a slap on the wrist compared to what people thought he was going to get. They are placing a commercial designation of rules on Tamara and Chris, not Tamara and Chris, the man or the woman with inalienable rights. The pleb is outside. I mean, the pleb tweeted out he was going to be there last night. I wish he'd make more content. I wish the pleb would come back and make more content. Like, he kind of puts out a video and then goes away for 2 weeks, and then he comes back and I don't know what happened to the pleb. I like the pleb. Nick's a good guy. I wish he'd come back. We can't protest. No, we can't. It's against the law apparently in this country. Oh, Charles Montgomery Burns won't be happy at all. Smithers, release the hounds. Pleb and Northern Perspective are both at the courthouse. Good, I'm glad. I almost caught a flight. I almost booked a flight and said, let's go. Problem was the times of the flights. I think the earliest flight would have got me there at like 3 a.m, and I couldn't have left until tomorrow. I would have hung outside Mark Carney's office. Where's Mark? We got a meeting. We got a meeting about tariffs. Where'd he go? I mean, you're not wrong. As I've said many, take the biggest mistake of the convoy was utilizing commercial vehicles. That was a mistake. To each their own, I guess. They shouldn't have got a single thing further. They've already been put through hell for years. I agree. But hey, look at the bright side, folks. This is the end. Once this is done, there's no more, oh, we're going to put in more charges. No more traveling to Ottawa. No more. There's still the Zexi Lee Paul Champ case. Keep in mind, the money from the convoy is still in escrow. Chris Barber, essentially a free man at this point. Barring his community service. Did you catch how long they're supposed to be in recess? Well, Ezra just tweeted out 10 seconds ago the judge is still out of the room, so I'm assuming they're back in the courtroom. So again, I'll be updating. Okay, there's people coming in. So what was Chris's sentence? While we're waiting, let's go over it again. Let's go over one more time. 18 months conditional sentence, concurrent 3-month sentence for counseling disobedience of a court order to be served in the community. Barber must remain on his own property during the first 12 months, except for employment or traveling to and from any legal, medical, or dental appointments or religious services. Once a week for up to 5 hours, he can go shopping, or by written permission of his supervisor. For the remaining period of time, he has a curfew between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. He must do 100 hours of community service. He's also allowed to visit his parents down the road for snow removal and other maintenance. The judge says Barber's employment requires him to travel outside of Saskatchewan, so that's an exception. That is allowed. So that's the sentence so far for Barber. Now we're waiting on Tamara, which I'm assuming is going to be time served. I really hope it is. They illegally sent her to jail. Keep in mind, when she was in jail the first time, solitary confinement. She was in solitary. Court's on a short break. When court resumes, Tamara Lich's sentence will be announced. Revenge of the Karens, that's what this is. The ultimate Karen, a government judge in a government town sentencing a dissident who dared protest on holy grounds in Ottawa and worse, challenged the COVID orthodoxy. Judge Karen gives a sentence harsher than Omar Cotter. In retrospect, I'm surprised the judge isn't still wearing a mask, but she's smarter than that. She's always in tune with the latest thing. Applause and cheers in the gallery. The defendants, we love you. The judge is still out of the room, Ezra says as of 1 minute ago. So we're still waiting on an update there, folks. Time and place for everything. Jokes belong everywhere, but dragging the living hell out of this, the judge will be forgotten within seconds of Chris and Tamara walking through the courtroom doors. Absolutely. A giveaway if Tamara receives no jail time? I wish. We gotta we gotta pay the bills here before we do more giveaways. I've been doing a ton of giveaways. If we hit 1,000 likes, I'll do a giveaway. How's that? Yeah, I don't get it either. This is government, right? This is how the courts work. Keep in mind, this is also a slap at the prosecution. This will look back. How much money did the government spend taking these guys to court for community service over multiple years? Our courts are a joke. I think that if the prosecution didn't get jail time, I think that the government should have to pay out of pocket for the court costs, not our tax dollars. There should be punishment for wasting Canadian tax dollars on a witch hunt like this. The actual people that deserve awards for their commitment to humanity and personal sacrifice. Yep. And that right there is the problem. It is our money. No, I know it's not their money. What I'm saying is that they should have to pay for it out of their money if they lose, not use taxpayer dollars, because essentially it's just an open floor to say, hey, keep spending our money, keep going after people on our dime when you're not supposed to, when there's no grounds for it. Okay, so 5 minutes, no update from Ezra. Judge is still out of the room. We should be getting updates any minute here, folks. How much money have the clowns spent to go after the convoy? What a waste. Go after the real criminals. House arrest, not leaving his house, should cut his internet. Is this a troll? You should cut his internet? Come on. I'm not even going to care about trolls today because the lefties are going to have a meltdown. They didn't get the heads on a pike that they wanted. Judge is still out of the room. We're still waiting on an update here, folks. Oh, guys. We got a troll. Say hi to the troll. Go have some, do me a favor, go have some soy. Enjoy your copium. You're not going to get any sympathy here. Go have a lollipop. Feel better. Oh, my free speech. Yeah, my free speech says go have some soy. Go fill up on some copium and feel better. Go have a lollipop. Go enjoy your Trump derangement syndrome. Eat some Lindor chocolate. Cope. Frickin' cope. Oh. Thank the troll for the views. Yeah, well, exactly. You're here in the you're here in the live stream. You're propping up the chat. Thank you, I guess. I always love when people go into the comments section. They're like, "Yeah, piece of crap. I hope you fail." And it's like, yet here you are in the comments helping boost things. Idiot. 107 and the judge is back. She says there's another request to listen on Zoom, a former court clerk. Okay, so that's 5 seconds ago. So we're going to have updates here, folks. Don't forget to leave a like on your way out. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. Oh, I love the trolls. They're so stupid. They're stupid. Idiots. You missed it. Who's the troll? I don't even remember the name. I don't care. It's just my free speech. Oh. Judge says her grandfather was a trucker for 60 years. Hashtag betrayer. Hashtag disloyal. Now comes the punishment for Tamara Lich. Okay, so let's sit here. We're gonna get to Tamara. Mafia Sound Media will leave as soon as he gets his 14th or 15th booster. Oh, please don't. Don't harm yourself like that. Oh, the troll needs a little cool whip. Yeah, I'm a fan of it too. I really don't care. The left can't meme. That's for sure. Okay, 40 seconds ago. We're still waiting on an update from Ezra. You're eating hair. Ooh, let me get some of that Cool Whip. Tamara will get house arrest and community service. She better not, because again, they put her in solitary confinement. They threw her in jail. Yeah, still waiting on the update, folks. It's coming. Trolls are good entertainment. Get the boys some Kool-Aid. That guy needs some milk. Yeah, Tamara should be given compensation. I agree with that. One too many Tide Pods. They're not doing Tide Pods anymore. What is it they're doing now? They're drinking Tylenol. Look at this. Somebody replied with my book. Isn't that awesome? I think that's awesome. I'm going to like that. I'm going to like that, which, by the way, if you guys haven't picked up this copy, 150,000 copies sold, folks. Go and grab one now over on Amazon. It's a great book. You kids will love it, I promise. Get any one of our 7 amazing books that are out on Amazon. Let me update again. Let's come on, Ezra. What are we paying you for here? I do like clicking on this and seeing that over and over again, but I don't want to stroke my ego here anymore. Let's okay, we're still waiting on an update. Let's get in with the chat. I got to get the book. How much? I think it's like $19 on Amazon right now. Sometimes they go on sale. I check Amazon. There you go. Mike TV Dub put a link in there for the Amazon page. Is copium a controlled substance? No. People tend to. I would tell the lefties that they should probably overdose on copium. Get an OD on it.
Shower, please. Or me.
The trolls are all upset because they've lost the war. Trantifa will be labeled a terrorist organization, and there will be toys for the prison people. Enjoy Transtifa. It will be like a dream date. They lost. They lost. And that's why they're all mad. I told you, the lefties, wait till Rachel Gilmore gets out on this. What do you mean they didn't go to jail? Breaking. Justice Heather Perkins McVeigh issues brutal sentence to trucker convoy organizer Tamara Lich. Conditional sentence of 18 months, less time already spent in custody, therefore 15 and a half months. First 12 months, house arrest except to and from court, medical emergencies, appointments, religious service, 5 hours a week for shopping. Can go to her coming grandchild's birth, remaining 3.5 months curfew between 10 and 5, except for medical emergencies, 100 hours community service. That's it, folks. That's it. And she got the same as Chris. Aside from time served, same as Chris. There's the updates, folks. That's the way it crumbles. Slap on the wrist. Again, in comparison to what could have happened in the courts. Yeah, John's saying not bad. Absolutely. I'll have to text Tamara as soon as I'm done this. It is too much, but guys, keep in mind again. I spoke with people tied to this yesterday. I didn't want to bug Tamara or Chris because they were spending time with their families. They were prepared to go to jail. They thought jail. Their lawyers, I'm assuming, advised them there was a possibility of jail. You can't discount a liberal judge in the nation's capital and what they could have done to Tamara and Chris. I agree, Jennifer. It should be nothing, but I would take house arrest and community service. Again, there's not going to be any further charges from here. So that's what we can take from this. If it was nothing, you might have seen an appeal. You might have seen court cases getting dragged out. The sentencing has it all ready to go. They haven't said anything about Big Red. I'm not sure if they're going to update that. I think that's provincial. I don't think that that's federal. So as soon as I hear, we'll let you guys know. But this is good news. This is good news, folks. Community service. So just to refresh, Tamara Lich, conditional sentence for 18 months, less time already spent in custody, therefore 15 and a half months. First 12 months house arrest, except to and from the courts. Medical emergencies appointments, religious service, 5 hours a week for shopping, can go to her coming grandchild's birth, remaining 3.5 months curfew, 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., except for her medical emergencies, 100 hours of community service. I'm happy it's over. Like, I can tell you right now, Tamara and Chris are smiling ear to ear. They are not upset with this. They are probably doing backflips in their heads. So if they're good with it, let's be good with it. This shows you stand of the government corrupt system. This shows you how far the government will go to jail those who speak out against them. And this shows you the consequences. Because keep in mind, again, the provincial case isn't over with. It's not done. But this is good, folks. It's a win. It's as much of a win as we could have hoped for. So they're basically under house arrest, but but are there any limits to who can come visit them? No. No, there's no limits. Chris Barber was told he can go remove snow from his parents. He's told he can still work in his truck and leave Saskatchewan. So really, anytime he's at home, he's just stuck in his home. I don't see a problem here. It's very light. I mean, Tamara, she sometimes is out with her band and things like that. Having a curfew between 10 and 5 a.m. means she can't be out at things like the ostrich farm. She can't be going around the country making appearances, but she can still live in her home. She can still go see her grandchild being born in Manitoba. She can still do interviews. She can freely talk about things now, folks, now that it's all done. Right? She's allowed to go to religious services. She's allowed 5 hours a week for shopping and getting out of the house. So an afternoon, I don't agree with it, but I think it's a lot better than the alternative. If either of them would have gone behind a jail cell, they would have been political prisoners. The Conservatives would have had a field day with what they could have pushed against the federal government. At least it's over. At least it's over. Don saying who was the crown in this case? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't have all that information in front of me. Do they have social media restrictions? No. No, there were no social media restrictions put on them. You are accepting the easy way out while this country is still being effed by the government. I'm not accepting the easy way out. I'm saying they are happy with this because they don't have to leave their families and go to jail. They beat the system. I'm not happy with the outcome. The best outcome would have been to drop the whole thing. But what you have to remember is they were going for a sentencing today. So something was going to happen to them one way or another. Out of the possibilities that could have came their way, the Crown was seeking 8 years in jail. If I was sitting in a courtroom and being told, look, you're being sentenced today, the court has found you guilty, you can go to jail for 8 years or you can get 18 months less time served, 100 hours of community service. And you're still allowed to work and you're still allowed to be on social media and all these other things, I'd probably say that's a good deal versus what they could have done. That's all I'm saying. It's not a win. God, when are people going to start looking at the glass half full? Everybody's always so negative, you know? Like, I am so sick of seeing that it's not going to happen. It's not going to change. Nothing's going to change. They're not going to jail. That's good, is it not? Unbelievable. I hate when people it's always negative. I get blowback for it all the time. It could have been much worse. I can't get into it much more than that, folks, because we're going to have to, I got to get a video out about this. So I'm going to wrap the live stream. I want to thank everybody who came and joined us for an hour and a half as we went through this. Again, I wasn't planning on live streaming, but hey, this is good. We got a live stream out. You guys got it live on the air. Check out the video. Make sure you watch the video. It's going to help us because I guarantee you the government's going to be pushing that video down. They don't want people seeing it and celebrating that the lefties lost the war. No live stream tomorrow night, folks. Again, Unhinged Fringe off the air tomorrow night. Other commitments on the go. Join me Friday with Mrs. Fringe for Friday Night Fringe. With that, ladies and gentlemen, have a great rest of your week. Make sure to check out the video in about 20 minutes, and I will catch you on the next one. Take care.